Hey guys, so thought I'd just do a video this week on 5 things that you can do that will save you money if you're not doing them already. The first thing you should look at doing is making a budget. I have done a whole nother video on sorting out your household budget, so refer back to that if you need a bit more detail. Basically, you just need to know how much is coming in each week, how much is going out each week. One of the things when I first started staying at home with my eldest daughter and we were down to one income, one of the first things I did was each week I'd look at our bank account statements, both our credit card and our EFTPOS, and I got an Excel spreadsheet, or just write it down or whatever, every single purchase that we made. And it actually really surprised me because I never realised what an impact doing top-up shops did each week, because I used to do a big shop and a whole heap of top-up shops. And don't cheat, don't go omitting things, don't go thinking, oh, that was only a 50-cent or a $1 purchase. You've got to write down everything. And then at the end of the week, just tally it up and categorise it, you know, what went under the food category. Was this essential? Was it not essential? Maybe highlight the things that you could go without. You will probably be surprised. I mean, even if it's something like, you know, you buy a coffee for $4 on your way to work. Pretty easy to do. You know, 5 days a week, that's $20 a week on coffee. 52 weeks in a year. You're looking at over $1,000 there that you could save just by maybe making a coffee at home before and putting it in a to-go cup before you set off, or just little things like that. You'll soon realise as you write down what you're spending, or even take a notebook out with you and just write down. You know, don't cheat, you got to write down everything, and just at the end of the week do a tally and you'll figure out where your money's going and what you could potentially cut back on. Number 2, the next thing you can do is make things yourself. Of course, food comes under that category. Of course, I've got videos for Africa on making things yourself. Even if it will just save you a few dollars a week, as I've said, that's where I find we get the big savings, by doing something that's going to save us $1 a week. One other thing that's going to save us $1 a week. You keep adding these things up and you really do notice the difference. We're actually spending the same amount on food now as we were 1-2 years ago, because bit by bit, and doing this YouTube channel actually helps me with that, because it forces me to keep coming up with ideas for videos, you see. So I keep coming up with things like crackers, you know, crackers, crumpets, bread, muesli bars, wraps, you know, burger patties, burger buns. I'm making absolutely everything myself as much as I can, and that is really saving us a lot of money. It is amazing how many packaged items I just walk straight past in the supermarket, but boy do I raid the flour. And you'll find if you are making a lot of things yourself, and if you've got all the ingredients to make things yourself, you are a lot less likely to do top-up shops. Something else that comes into that is leftovers. Make sure you use your leftovers. As an example, the other night I made some crunchy chicken and chips for dinner. We had a couple of the bits of chicken left over, so I diced them up and I made rice balls to go in everyone's lunch boxes the next day. I had a bit of rice left over from making the rice balls, and I made rice pudding. It was only enough for a little serving each, but they got a little pot of rice pudding each. So little things like that actually do start adding up and making quite a big difference. Also, while I'm on the subject of packing lunches, pack a whole heap of snacks and stuff, especially if you're doing a physical job. Also, things like if you're going out somewhere for the day, pack a picnic. If you're just going out on a bit of an expedition somewhere into town or something and you think you're going to be back before lunchtime and you got kids in the boot, pack snacks. You know, bring some little baggies of popcorn or something like that, because yeah, it stops that temptation to sort of, let's just stop off at McDonald's and get an ice cream. Not that I'm saying there's anything wrong with the odd ice cream, I am partial, but it's just stops that temptation. If you don't really need something, just, you know, bring a container with some fruit in it or whatever. It's just sort of thinking ahead. if you're the type of person who's prone to buying takeaways every now and then because you can't be naffed making dinner, I hear ya. Slow cookers can be a brilliant option if you're working. You know, you prep your meal before you go to work, turn the slow cooker on, and it's done when you get home. Things like casseroles, if you're making a one-pot dish like that, I'm a big fan of stuff like that. Make a big portion and then freeze part of it. And then you've got a meal ready to go when you just can't be bothered. Even if you've just got a bit left over, add a can of beans to it or something, bulk it up, stick it in the freezer, whatever. So, you know, things like that, think ahead. And when I'm actually planning my weekly shop, I always plan for a couple of nights worth of dinners that I don't actually have to spend a lot of time cooking, or if I don't have to think about defrosting. So I've got a couple of meals like that each week for those I'm not organised or I can't be bothered nights. Now, when it comes to making your own stuff as well, you know, food's the main thing that springs to mind, but also cleaning products. I use white vinegar and water to clean most stuff in my house. Make your own liquid hand soap, just with a normal cake of soap. You know, you grate a normal cake of soap and leave it to soak in boiling water overnight, and you got liquid hand soap. And also clothes. Instead of, okay, I'm not saying make your own clothes, I wouldn't know where to start when it comes to stuff like that. If you got holes in your clothes, have a look at sewing them up. Even if they're just clothes for wearing around the house, you can make them last that little bit longer. The kids, they have to wear black pants when they go to school. They've got a lot of pairs of pants that have just gotten the holes sewn up because they don't care. So, you know, or put a nice looking little patch. If you've got socks with holes in them, I've been known to cut out a square from an old pair of black socks and stick that over the black track pants. As I say, it's not the flashiest thing, but if they're only going to be running around at school, they really don't care. Another thing you can do is ring around. Power companies, phone, internet providers, insurance companies. Once a year, have a big ring around. Ring your existing providers and let them know what you're doing, because a lot of them will bend over backwards trying to keep your custom. There's a lot of things that they are automatically allowed to do, you know, such as giving you a certain percentage off, or offering you a further discount, or just giving you a one-off payment to stick with them for another year. So even if you don't end up switching, if your current provider knows that you're looking around, they will often offer you a better deal. Now, of course, you could find a better deal elsewhere, in which case, yay. Switching over is pretty easy, at least it is here in New Zealand. You know, you just tell them you want to switch, tell them who you're currently with, and they'll sort it. So it is really, really worth ringing around, checking prices. You never know what you might get, even if it's just a month of not having to pay for it as a bonus for sticking with them. I mean, you know, that's all great. Also, make sure that with your providers like that, you are paying your bills on time, because most of them have either an incentive to pay the bills on time, or you get hit with penalties if you pay it late. So I would recommend setting up an automatic payment. That's what I do anyway. Ours all come out direct debit every month, so that, you know, I don't have to worry about, oh, have I paid that bill? So we automatically do that, and we automatically get either the discount or the fees waived for not paying late. So that is worth doing too. And when it comes to brands as well, even like food brands, if you'd normally buy some of the more expensive food brands, they're not necessarily better. They're not necessarily a whole heap different. I would really recommend trying, if you don't already, the home brand type stuff, you know, value brand, budget, PAMS, the supermarket in-store brands of things, especially things like pasta and flour that really, in my opinion anyway, there isn't a difference. So, you know, even if it's just for 1 week, just give it a go. I think we're up to number 4. I may have veered off track, but we're about up to number 4. Is know what kind of spender you are. Are you the sort of person who can be trusted with your credit card? And most people will actually know. Whether or not they want to admit it, they'll know. Me personally, I know that I can be trusted with a credit card. I'm pretty stingy. My credit card gets paid off every week. I don't pay it off monthly, I pay it off every single week. We get paid weekly, so it's just easiest for us. The reason I use my credit card to pay for most things is to earn the hot points, because, you know, we get the loyalty points and we can trade it in for vouchers, which comes in handy for Christmases, birthdays, that sort of thing, or if we just need a Mitre 10 voucher to do stuff on the land or whatever. If you can't really trust yourself with a credit card, then the other option is either just using EFTPOS. Make sure you do not have overdraft facilities, so you can't go putting yourself into debt, because then you're stung with fees. Or what I've heard a lot of people doing is withdraw money out of the cash machine and say, right, this is my spending money, this is it for the week. So if you're handing over actual money, you often do think twice. I've heard from a few different places something called the 30-day rule. If you feel the need or the want to buy something that you know is not absolutely necessary, if you're holding it in your hand, whether it's a lovely pair of shoes, some new clothes, or if it's a video game or a lovely new pair of sunglasses, whatever, stop, put it down, put it back on the shelf. Take a photo of it or write down what it is. Write down where to buy it from, how much it cost, and the date. You're not depriving yourself, you're not saying you're not going to buy it. All you're saying is, in 30 days, just keep hold of that piece of paper with all the details, and in 30 days, if you still want it, then go buy it, as long as you're not going into debt. You know, 30 days down the track, you might think, actually, I didn't need that. That time will also give you a bit of time to go online, do a bit of research, and see if you can get that same product cheaper from somewhere else. Me and Clint have a rule never to impulse buy stuff, or never to buy things on the spot. I recall when we were looking for a washing machine, of course we'd done the ring around, we'd looked all over the net, we were going around places, playing them off against each other for price. We'd found the washing machine we wanted, can we talk them down price-wise? And so we went into this place, and this guy, he'd given us a pretty good discount, but simply because our policy was to walk out of the store, talk with each other, and both agree, without the salesperson there, yes, we're going to buy it, then we were going to go back in and buy it. Now that salesperson, he did not want us to leave the store, and we ended up getting a much bigger discount than what we would have previously even been happy to accept. So we did end up walking out of the store. We sort of looked at each other and cracked up laughing, and we said, well, we both agreed we were willing to accept the first offer he'd given us. We were willing to pay for it at that price, but he's given us a better price now just because we walked out. It does pay not to just impulse buy. Just, you know, take a step back, think, put it back, walk away. If you like going and spending money on clothes and that sort of thing, it's your hobby, books, whatever. Well, books for a start. Go to the library. The library has amazing resources. You know, they've got online resources, they've got heaps of books. If there is a book you want that they don't have, quite often you can request for it to be ordered in. So, you know, and it's completely free. It's free to get a library card, and it's free to take books out. So, you know, no excuses there. So yeah, I really join your local library. I know me and my kids, we're there every week because my kids love books, and we come out with literally a stack. So, and they just sit down at home and they devour these books. Secondhand clothes shops, you know, Salvation Army, where I live in Oxford, they've got a completely free secondhand clothes place. Every now and then I'll go in there with a bag of clothes, that either my old clothes or the kids' old clothes. Take them a bag of clothes, and I come back out with a few new items. I got a few pairs of shorts for school last time I went. And also I find at secondhand shops, you find a lot of things that you wouldn't normally buy. So, you know, you find something that's a bit different from your usual style or whatever. So that is a really good option. Also, if you are an impulse buyer, I would highly recommend you stay away from Trade Me and eBay and places like that, because boy, you'll find all sorts of stuff that you never knew you needed. Now when it comes to food shopping, of course you don't go food shopping when you're hungry. The best thing to do if you're an impulse buyer is to actually do your shopping online. Where we live in the South Island of New Zealand, we can't do our online shopping at Pak'nSave. We can do it at Countdown. I find Countdown a little bit more expensive than Pak'nSave, but you could still end up spending less, simply because you can see your shopping list as you add things on. You can see how much it's all coming to, you can see your tally, and you know straight away if that's blowing the budget or not. And if it is, you can go back and take a few things out of your virtual trolley. Of course, make a list. If you're going to the supermarket, you're doing all your shopping yourself, you make a list, you stick to the list. Number 5, I think we're up to number 5 now. I've probably covered more than 5 actually, but actually save your money. Now what I mean by that is, if you've come up with, if you've followed some of these things, if you've come up with a better deal with your phone provider or whatever, if you're paying $5 less a month than what you were, take that $5, put it into a savings account. So don't just fritter it, don't be just like, yay, now I can go out and buy me something. Actually open up a high interest savings account that you vow to yourself not to touch. whether it's long-term savings, short-term savings, you know, think about what, you know, have a goal, think about how much you want to get into that account. Just make yourself a promise that you're not gonna touch it. Put the money into that account, whether you do it manually, as I say, depends what kind of a person you are, whether you put it in there manually or you set up to automatically have your money scooped over each month, week, whatever. Make sure you do put it in that account, because that way it's almost like a game. Each week you can see it growing. You can see how much you're getting, you can see your interest. Of course, interest doesn't mean a lot when you haven't got much in there, but it soon adds up. Me personally, I'd love to take the kids away on a big holiday somewhere. You know, I'd love to take them to a big theme park at the Gold Coast or even to Disneyland or somewhere like that. And I've got an account for that at the moment. There is hardly anything in there, or not a drop in the bucket of what we'd actually need to get there. But even if it's just $1 a week, I'm putting $1 a week into that account. And it feels good to be doing that. And you know, if some weeks I can afford a bit more, I'll put a bit more in. Now with bank accounts, it really does help as well to have separate bank accounts. In our instance, I've got a bill paying account. I know exactly how much I need to put into that account, and that's where the mortgage comes from, where all our monthly bills come from, our rates. I've got it set up to all automatically come out of that account. You know, then we've got a spending account. Actually, before we had kids and we were both working, me and Clint each had our own separate slush funds, if you like. We had our own separate accounts. So I mean, if we wanted to just buy something for ourselves or from each other, or for each other I should say, if we wanted to buy something for each other, a birthday present or whatever, then we didn't know about it. It could actually be a surprise. Those days are kind of gone now. Yeah, it was good. It was like a little guilt-free spending account that we each had a certain amount each. And it feels now like we were pretty rich back then. But the good thing is, back then, before we had kids, when we were both working, I was still stingy, and I was really, I was very disciplined about putting a certain amount of money away in savings every week. And a couple of times when our mortgage was due to renew, I actually took a few $1,000s that was in these savings accounts, because that's how much we were capable of saving, and whacked it straight off the mortgage. And a few times we actually did that. We took lump sums off our mortgage from money that we just didn't spend because we're too stingy. You know, I wince a bit when I think about the days even before we had a mortgage. Before I met Clint, the amount of money I used to spend on clothes and alcohol was ridiculous. But hey, you know, I lived the high life when I could. Regret nothing. So there we go. Have a target. Make a spreadsheet if you want to, if you're saving up for something. If you've got a target, there are ways of doing it. I would love to hear your suggestions below. Leave me a comment if you've got any other suggestions for saving money. yeah, if this video was of help to you, hit the like button, hit subscribe for more videos, and yeah, have fun out there. Bye.